Here's the gist of UMURANGI Generation. This is a single-player first-person shooter, and by that I obviously mean with film. It's more accurately described as a photography simulator. Released on Steam in May 2020 and independently developed by Origami Digital and published by Playism. The gameplay itself is simple to explain but full of variety once you grasp it. You're a photographer in a quote shitty future, urban punk gritty environments like construction sites and subway stations, with military installations interruptively planted throughout society. Your job is to photograph the world post-war and specific details throughout. At the beginning of every level, you'll be given a list of things to photograph along with potential details on how to specifically take said photos, as in how close to frame the object or objects must be, what sort of lens to use, but the rest is entirely up to your own creativity. Controls are straightforward first-person shooter controls with an added double jump for good measure, although no sprint, but regardless, that scheme extends to photography as well, point and shoot. Aperture and zoom can be adjusted once looking through the viewfinder, and once you've got a good shot, you take it. Then you're immediately brought to a customization screen, where on your first couple of playthroughs, you'll have a handful of sliders to mess around with. However, as you progress through the game and complete photo bounties, you'll unlock more options such as hue, contrast, and saturation. Once you're satisfied with your edits, your pick is complete, and if you so choose, it will also be saved to your computer's storage drive. This is a set and forget sort of thing, so you can just select to let photos be saved and check everything out once you're done playing. Beyond the photos you're required to snap are also secondary objectives. In every level, your group of friends will tag along with you. You can tell them to pose and take pics along with them, and getting all four, your penguin friend included, in the same shot scores you a bonus. There are also rolls of film hidden around the map which will grant you bonus points and let you take more photos. And lastly, every level has a so-called postcard shot, which can be taken from a certain spot hidden in the map and recreated by the most eagle-eyed of photographers. Every pick costs a bit of money for the film spent, but you will earn back more cash when it's sent along to your company. Each of the 8 or so maps has a 10-minute time limit to earn a bonus for delivering all of the required photos, but it's not a big deal if you go over. At that point, you're taking photos just for the fun of it. And that's pretty much the bulk of the gameplay right there. You're given a playground of sights oozing with aesthetic paired perfectly with an absolutely killer soundtrack, and have goals for what photos to take, but very few limitations in how you take them. The game makes a huge point of almost no photos being necessarily bad. Even if a take is overexposed or oversaturated, it'll simply be classified as moody or colorful. Having people in frame gets you bonus points, but landscapes are perfectly fine too. I found if you're looking to quickly complete several goals and capture the most people at once, finding the point in the map with the most clutter and filling it all in frame will be a real earner for you, and often these will be some of the most stylish picks too. The only thing you have to take care to avoid photographing are blue bottles. They're littered around some maps and are an absolute cinematographic nightmare. You won't be punished too severely if one worms its way into frame, as there's no life meters or game overs. You'll simply lose some profit the photo would have otherwise made. Now, if you're looking for a real challenge, in order to unlock advanced camera components like the flashbox, you'll need to complete all the main and side objectives in a level within the 10-minute time limit, meaning the 6 bounties, a group photo, recreating the postcard, earning over a certain dollar amount, and most difficult of all, locating all of the hidden film reels. That may be something you wish to look up a guide for if you're frustrated, but at least in my experience, I didn't feel like I was missing out for not having these upgrades. I was just having fun snapping pics with the equipment I had. And after a while, once you figure out some good spots for completing bounties, you can speed through the levels pretty easily. Not only are there multiple places where bounties can be completed using different angles or even loose definitions of your required takes, but time will freeze when editing photos, giving you all the time you need to perfect your masterpiece. Now, you've probably been able to tell from my tone, but I'm absolutely infatuated with UMURANGI Generation. This game is a masterclass in aesthetic. The sights and sounds are compared by many a person to Jet Set Radio, and I very much see where they're coming from, but the colorscapes are on a whole other level level, and the anti-war and down with tyranny messages are even more explicit, and I'm absolutely here for it. An entire story of governmental abuse, invasion, and protest is told entirely through the environments, newspapers and graffiti giving depth to the world. What I find most interesting about my experience with this game is photography has never really been my strong suit. Sure, I take plenty of selfies, you can follow me on Instagram and see for yourself, but taking pictures of other people or the world, I've never fancied myself very good at it. But this game gives me low pressure situations despite the high intensity settings to try my hand at it. And once we're all able to go outside safely on the reg again, I think I'm gonna take a crack at real world photography myself. It actually convinced me to take up a new hobby, imagine that. Now, while my opinions of this game are very high, I do have some grievances. Performance is generally pretty poor. Even on my powerhouse PC, I struggle to maintain 60 FPS. There are graphic settings, but obviously the lower you go, the generally worse your photos will look. While it's not really a problem, I also had plenty of times where I completed objectives without actually meeting their requirements, as the game registered necessary elements for my photographs through walls. It's preferable to the alternative though. I never had an issue where I clearly met all the requirements but the photo didn't take. More importantly, however, the game's movement feels very stiff and uncomfortable. Jumping around and climbing up obstacles is clumsy at best, and even staircases are a challenge to ascend. It's completely serviceable, just unpolished. However, considering the play at your own pace style of gameplay, unless you're going for the 10-minute challenge, these problems don't get in the way too much. On top of this, the developer, that's right, singular, is actively seeking out bugs to squash and various ways to improve the game. The sole developer, Veselkov, has clearly poured their heart and soul into this project, which makes the $15 price point completely acceptable in my eyes, especially since all the pics I take in-game are aesthetically pleasing enough to serve as stylish wallpapers and the like outside of the context of the title. Not to mention, the soundtrack by Thor High Heels is absolutely worth a purchase in its own right. Listen, I'm always willing to be more lax and forgiving of indie games, especially those mostly, if not entirely, developed by one person. And I know for sure I've paid a lot more than $15 for AAA games I've gotten far less enjoyment out of than this. To me, the cost-to-content ratio of a game greatly changes based on the amount of people working on it. Does it have some problems? Sure, it's a bit rough around the edges, but for the sound, sights, and shots I've taken, coupled with my newfound desire to partake in photography, I think I'm comfortable saying that UMURANGI is worth every penny. If you're a fan of the aesthetics and grew up on games like Jet Set and Tony Hawk, and hell, even Pokemon Snap, this game is worth a look. If you love taking beautiful screenshots in games, well, it's the perfect title for you. And if you're interested in photography, it may even be good practice. Just make sure your PC can handle it. All in all, UMURANGI Generation is the most unique game I've had the pleasure of playing in a long time, and I've still got plenty of pics left to take. The game is linked below, and while you're down there, maybe you could consider subscribing? 100K is right around the corner. And a quick reminder to stay safe and wash your hands lest we find ourselves in our own shitty future. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.